Welcome to Master Phil in your corner at the new location of the Dougie Fresh Studios in Wyckoff, New Jersey. We're here, as always, with Dougie Fresh Friedman, and we have a special guest today, Dr. Mike Dworkin.
Hello, hello.
So today, subject, we're going to discuss the vaping dilemma. And let me give a little background on vaping. When it first came out, I said, this is nonsense. And yet, the publications were saying, oh, it's fine. It's a great way to get off of cigarettes. It's not harmful. It's vapor. It's not tobacco, blah, 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 blah. And as always, if you put foreign substance into your body, there will be negative results. So let's just look at a couple of these things here. From the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, as of October 23rd, 2019, has linked almost 1,500 cases of mysterious lung disease over the past 6 months, and at least 33 people have died since this outbreak began. Okay. This illness, it's marked by chest pain, shortness of breath, vomiting, and it's largely affected young people, the ones being targeted by the marketing, by these companies pushing forth this vaping notion that it's good. The vast majority of cases, almost 80%, involve e-cigarette users younger than 35, and another 15% are younger than 18. So, is this a safe alternative to smoking, or is it a way to grow a market? We know that cigarette smoking has decreased. So in my mind, these guys are wanting to push this stuff out and garner that market again. So if you look at some young people who vape and then transition to cigarette smoking, a lot of them would have become smokers no matter what. But experts estimate now that there are about over 495,000 people ages 12 to 29 who have tried e-cigarettes as of 2018. They would go on to become regular cigarette smokers as a direct result of their vaping habit. And then, according to Samir Soniji from Tobacco Control Research at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, guys, it's out there. So, to sum this up, in other words, people who had never become smokers if they hadn't vaped first. That's almost 500,000, almost 500,000 people in that short amount of time. Young people, ages 12 to 29, that would not have even tried smoking, now have a whole new crop of future smokers and vapors. And people say, well, it's okay, this, that, and the other thing. I'm just going to look at one thing. What temperature is that coming into your mouth? What's the average temperature? Fahrenheit, the average temperature? It's about 470 degrees, 243 degrees Celsius.
Got the stats over there.
I know.
Stats. I'm all about physiology here.
That's coming out of the machine into your lungs.
Yes.
400.
It's a heated metal.
Yes.
It's a heated metal coil.
And they're sucking that into their lungs. And here, one of the most dangerous things that you don't get from cigarette smoking that you get from vaping is a thing called popcorn lung. And I'm going to let you go off on this. I'm going to feed you into this. This is popcorn lung. It's diacetyl, is a chemical linked to severe respiratory disease, bronchiolitis obliterative. I don't even know what that is. Commonly known as popcorn lung. I know popcorn lung. It was found in 39 of 51 flavored e-liquids examined by researchers from at Harvard. And this was done by the T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And guess what? It's 70 times greater than that in cigarettes. Please take it away, Dr. Dworkin. Let me hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's not only about the popcorn lung, because what happens is you have the diacetyl, as well as they also have formaldehyde in there. And the key is the vitamin E acetate. What it does is it causes inflammation in the lungs. And the reaction from the inflammation in the lungs or the bronchioles, it creates this popcorn-like appearance. And it basically starves your lungs from oxygen transfer.
What does that do to the alveoli in the lungs?
Well, it beyond clouds them because of the smoke, but it also it degenerates them physiologically, so they can't function.
So if the people who don't know what I'm speaking about, the alveoli, what are they and how are they important?
So the alveoli, if you could, they actually are the places, the trees. They look like
a broccoli tree.
Yeah, they look like almost like a blueberry or a grape tree where there's a bunch of them to increase the surface area for gas exchange. And it's the places in your lungs where gas exchange occurs, not only the carbon dioxide and the noxious gases that you expel, but also, more importantly, the oxygen you pull from the environment. So what we're designed physiologically, because expiration is a passive activity, your lungs or your alveoli have more of affinity for carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and other gases like that. So obviously, just to get down to the nuts and bolts without getting too much into the jargon, smoke shouldn't be in your lungs. Do you know what I mean? So the reason why
no matter like vaping smoke, tobacco smoke, pot smoke.
Exactly. So we can go through all of that, but what happens in these vaping pens or whatever vector the vaping device is sometimes they manipulate it to put different oils, just marijuana or stuff with nicotine in it. And the consequence of that is you may not be as strong as having cigarettes smoke in your system, but it's just as bad. And it may even be worse in the fact of, because we're talking about metal coils, the byproduct from the metal coil and the dispersal from that causes metals building up in your lungs. And
wow,
we're talking immune system damage, brain damage, lung, liver. I mean, whenever you have cellular damage, cancer gets put right on the table.
Right.
So your body's just not working the way it should be. So you have abnormal cell growth, which is basically a definition of cancer. But the first thing to happen, and this is why the popcorn lung comes to full circle, is inflammation in your lungs because proper gas exchange can't occur. Your body wants to expel all the smoke or whatever noxious substance that's in there, and it can't draw oxygen, it clogs it, it inflames, and then next thing you know, you have the complications.
Now, is there any basis at all, other than marketing, for the notion that the vaping is better than smoking for you?
Well, it's not better, because what happens is, while it may be on TV or in periodicals or people talking that vaping's better than cigarettes, marginally. You know, I mean, we can talk about 7,000 toxic chemicals. I found a study from Johns Hopkins Medical School from Michael Blaha, about 5 facts on vaping, right? So 7,000 toxic chemicals are from vaping, which is still not toxic as cigarettes, but it's still, I mean, the vitamin E acetate's still there.
Yes.
And what happens informally, what they're not talking about, is the kids and even the adults, they're manipulating the device. And because of that, it's modified. So there's more metals associated with it.
Well, here's the thing too, is that I look at this as 2-pronged here, maybe 3-pronged, but if it's just popped into my head here. Right. Look at the rising popularity of vaping is dramatic. So, especially among teenagers. So here you get young people involved.
Well, I got that
at a younger age, and it's going out to more. I mean, if you look at it, as of 2018, 37% of high school seniors reported vaping. That's up 28% from the year before.
Well, the thing is, and you know, I'm not going to get so into the stats because I want all of you to understand that your kids and your friends and people, more importantly, your kids get this by people because it's scented, it's flavored. You can't, there's people sometimes vaping in the classroom and the teacher has no idea that they're vaping. You know, they look like USB ports, they look like pens, they look like all these different devices that sometimes, and they're smokeless. Also, they're more advantageous for the teens because there's less of that smoke smell.
Right.
You know, like when we were kids, we'd go to the bars and the restaurants and, you know, people were allowed to smoke in restaurants and stuff. So you'd go home smelling like smoke. Now, they could be vaping and they're not going to smell like smoke. Their clothes aren't going to smell like smoke. They also are flavored, which brings you another topic on the table because there's more chemicals to flavor artificially the device. And it just pulls people, like you said before, which was great. It pulls not only adults, but more importantly, it pulls kids into this kind of spectrum, you know, as I would classify as a recreational drug.
Oh, absolutely.
That would never think twice about doing it.
You know,
they just would never do it.
Yeah, they would have never done it. And now this whole new group of people are trying it. I mean, you know, there's an estimated 2.1 million middle schoolers using e-cigarettes. Come on. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. Little kids, you know.
It tastes like berries. They don't taste like tobacco.
Which brings me back to the whole, when you manipulate the device, whether you're putting nicotine in there, like nicotine kind of oils or whatever substance you're putting there, it's not designed for that. And it's also, when you talk about kids, your nervous system and your body's not mature till your early 20s. So they're more apt to develop brain damage or nervous system dysfunction. And it's just frustrating and sad.
It is. I mean, you look at this too, because not only does it affect your lungs, but it also has an impact on the heart. There was a studies done by the Cedars-Sinai team, and they compared the hearts of 10 non-smokers to the hearts of 10 tobacco smokers and 10 e-cigarette smokers. So all the people in the study were all under the age of 40, younger than 40. All were otherwise healthy. In response to a mild bout of exercise, measures of blood flow increased in the hearts of the non-smokers, like that's supposed to, right? Your blood flow is supposed to increase. Among the tobacco smokers, this increase was blunted. So we expected to have a less of a response. But check this out. Among the e-cigarette smokers, there was no increase at all. None. So this suggests that e-cigarette smoking causes an abnormality that impedes blood flow regulation in the heart. I mean, what are some of the long-range effects of this? I mean, you're going from bad to worse. Tobacco is bad enough, but the e-cigarettes are even worse with an effect on the heart. I don't know, has that been addressed that much? Have we been talking about that a lot? I haven't seen this in the news. I'm only finding this from the research I've done on the subject.
Well, the news is very reactive versus proactive. Right. So, you know, when you're talking about an impact on the nervous system, the heart's going to be the consequence of that, because when you stimulate, again, the nervous system, whether it gets blunted or not,
right? You
know, it's almost like the adrenaline dump thing we talk about.
Yes.
You know, you get sympathetic atonia. So when your sympathetic nervous system gets hyper-stimulated, that fight or flight thing.
Yeah. Or freeze. But we'll talk about it.
That's another podcast. But what happens is the heart is the driving force of that. And here's, whether it be directly from the sympathetic nervous system stimulation or fight or flight or freeze, but indirectly from your breath, from the lungs, because it's coordinated, that cardiopulmonary physiology, when you breathe, when your respiration rate increases to get more oxygen in, whether you're exercising or because, again, like you talked about before with the alveoli being blunted and then you can't pull the oxygen from the system, from the environment, you're going to abnormally raise your respiration rate, which is going to cause your heart to raise its rate we talk about stroke volume and all that stuff. The cardiac output is going to raise.
It's going to raise.
More blood.
Right.
More noxious gases out of the system.
But yet the means to have this exchange has been thwarted or significantly impeded. So therefore, the heart's going to work harder.
Yeah.
And it's going to pump harder, and less is going to happen, and it's a spiraling downward process.
Yeah. The oxygen can't get in because the lungs are complicated. The heart's going to raise up. It doesn't know that the lungs
just need to do more work.
It's just calling.
So it raises its rate. The oxygen comes in. It can't come in. Lungs are going to respirate rate's going to rise. Heart rate's going to rise. It's a self-fulfilling.
Yeah. Are we talking the result could be myocardial infarction?
Oh yeah.
Or
they
stroke?
They raise a heart attack, stroke, any cardiovascular pathology, which is heart attack, congestive heart failure. We're talking about stroke, TIAs. We're talking about, forget about just the lung stuff, liver, kidneys, diabetes, high blood pressure, all that stuff.
Wow. I mean, it just amazes me how, again,
the system doesn't work properly.
Yeah.
So
but it just amazes me how, again, this stuff was launched into the market, saying it's okay, it's good, it's a great alternative, blah, 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 sold. And now we're seeing the results, the negative results, the impact on our society, especially our young adults getting into this, and children even getting into this.
It's the same type of pathway as like Cretin. You remember when Cretin was like the big thing? Mm-hmm. It gives you an extra phosphate bond. That's another podcast, right? Yeah. But the idea is it sells things. It's all about money that, into the system. So what happens is, at the end of the day, common sense approach, smoke's not supposed to be in your lungs.
Right.
Or any foreign substance shouldn't be in your body. I mean, again, take that within a reason. I don't want to get too off to the right, so to speak, or the left. So what happens is, if you have too much stuff into your system, whether it be good or bad, what happens is your body has feedback loops to govern that. And especially when you're dealing with something in your lungs, if you're used to get it off smoking, you should start. It's just a bad approach, because then you're going to become addicted, as they've shown. I'm sure you have stats over there, to the vaping.
Oh yeah.
So,
actually, it's actually more addictive than cigarette smoking. It's very concentrated, and what people are doing is they're taking these pods,
levels of
nicotine, and they're jacking it up, and they're also adjusting the amount of temperature, the amount that they can get in.
So this big,
it's more intense.
Storm of smoke.
It's more intense.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that, you know what? There's such a negative social connotation associated with smoke that, people look down upon it. So you're going to do it less. Even if you are a smoker, you'll be more apt to do it less. But the vaping, you can do it anywhere. Like I said, it's smokeless.
Well, the bottom line is, if you put a chemical in your body, you could argue, and again, I'm going to say this is a topic for another podcast too. Yeah. So I'm going to kind of pull it back. But if you put any chemical, even medicinal therapy, right? Mm-hmm. The idea is, when they talk about even antibiotics, they say once you're done, or if you don't have a bacterial infection, you shouldn't be taking antibiotics. Let the body heal itself. However, if you have if you need antibiotics, you need antibiotics. The idea is, because if you put chemicals, whether needed or not, it's foreign. Your body has a way of dealing with that. There's feedback loops. Mm-hmm. So whether it be resistant to it, or incorporating a need for it, one being addicted, one being, accommodation. What happens is, with this, is like anything with physiology. Once you have the chemicals coming into your system, to get that response, your body gets used to it, accommodates to it. So you need more of a chemical stimulant to get that desired response. Get the
desired response.
So that's where the addiction comes in. So what happens is, because it's foreign, your body's going to end up becoming used to it, it's going to need more of a stimulant of those chemicals to get the illicit response. In this case, that satisfying feeling in your brain.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, you get that
centers.
euphoric feeling.
Yeah.
You know, people use it to relax or whatever the case may be. But the thing is that, again, when we're putting foreign substances in our body, guys, it's bad. Anything has side effects. All these things have side effects.
Even good stuff like too much vitamin A is bad for you.
Exactly. It builds up.
Yeah. So what happens is you want to get with this again. It's foreign, so it's just a bad road to go around to get off of any type of cigarette or other type of drug or chemical you're putting into your system, especially through your lungs. There's other ways to get off of it. You know, to get off the addiction, so to speak. That's what it comes down to. It's all from your brain.
Well, you know, the best way to avoid addiction is to not participate in this stuff from the get-go. And, you know, many people get into it for curiosity and so forth. But the thing that bothers me the most is the fact that it was purported to be a good thing, purported to be harmless. And I'll tell you, and everybody who knows me knows how outspoken I was against it and still am. But from the beginning, I'm like, this is not a viable alternative. It's not. And look at how this has exploded. And look at now what is happening. Look, I'll tell you what. We all know smoking is bad, right? Cigarette smoking. But I never heard of people developing such lung diseases so quickly and dying at a young age from doing it for a relatively short period of time.
Well, because they're still developing. I mean, that's their physiology is like potent sponges.
Yeah.
You know, you heard kids are sponges. They're getting it at a younger age. You're not going to see, and I may eat this. You're not going to see your 12, 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid smoking cigarettes. It's just,
right.
You know, you may. That's why I say I'm going to eat this. But the idea is vaping. I would guarantee you're going to see there's a handful of people.
There's much more. I'll definitely agree.
I shouldn't say a handful, but much more.
There's many more. There's many more children vaping than smoking
because of the flavored oils. There's lack of smoke, all of the things that we've kind of touched on. The lack of the smoke smell, which is a put off. I mean, let alone the enticement of the flavored oils. It's the scents, and their friends use it and everything.
Yeah,
I think
because
go ahead. All right.
Oh yeah, well because when if you ever kissed a smoker, it's like kissing an ashtray. Okay, you don't have that situation here with vaping. It's you can't be tutti frutti or something.
I think it's very important to point out they may look similar, they may have similar properties, but these are very different things. Smoking, nicotine, ash. Mm-hmm. All right, vaping is more steam. These are they look similar, they act similar, but they're very different things. Like you could die by a pit of fire or you could drown. They're different. You know what I mean? Like
right.
They're different.
But still, what's the end result? What's the end result?
Yes. But they're different. They're this might seem like it's healthier than cigarette.
No, I kind of disagree with that.
You don't think they're
I think
different properties?
I think they're exactly the same animal with a different head. What I mean by that is if there's just as much, depending on what vaping instrument you use, there's nicotine in it, which brings you to the addictive.
That's the addictive. That's the addictive portion.
There's marijuana in it, and I'm not gonna. We can have that debate, but marijuana has an effect on the nucleus of the cell. Okay, I'm not going to say, listen, medical marijuana and all that. We can have a debate on a whole nother day for that.
But we can actually, let's delve into it just a little bit because, medical marijuana, the use of that, if you have a choice, if you're in extreme pain and you have the choice, do I use opioids or medical marijuana? I'm going to fall to the side of the medical marijuana.
100%. Okay. I'm just saying, and as you were saying, I said medical marijuana, but the real animal in that arena is the recreational stuff you're getting on the street.
Yes.
Just like I said before with the manipulation of the vaping instrument or using your friend's vaping instrument or whatever your friend's using, or a person that you're in that circle with, you know, you don't know what's being added or subtracted or manipulated with. You just don't.
Well, the other thing is too is that if you're looking at marijuana and the pods they use for that, the THC level in the concentrate is like up to what 95% now.
Yeah, but if you get medical marijuana, it's you know the source. The key is the source is pure.
I'm talking about the the recreational.
Yeah, you don't know what they're putting in.
You don't know what's in that.
You just don't know. So they could put anything in there, and that's the idea.
And the THC level can be dramatically higher than the pot that people smoked back in the 70s and 80s.
Different strands and breed, different.
Well, THC level that's the issue.
That's
the active chemical that resides in your cerebral cortex for up to 23 days.
Yeah.
Okay, and it has been linked, not definite links to disruption and destruction of chromosomes.
And then just to try to bring it back to this topic at hand, the vaping. The vaping has definitely been shown to have the vitamin E acetate, the formaldehyde, the diacetyl. All those have been shown to have lung disease, lung cancer, and all those cardiopulmonary complications. And I dissected cadavers in college, and formaldehyde is pretty damn strong. I'll never get that. I can recall that smell like that just by talking, and it's 30 years ago, 20 years ago.
I remember doing dissection in biology, and that smell was pretty rancid. It's pretty powerful.
It's
imagine
powerful.
You're putting that into your lungs.
Which is direct access into your physiology.
Oh, wait. And you're also putting it in at almost 500 degrees. Okay, how can this even be thought of as being okay? You're taking hot steam and injecting it into your lungs.
We can talk about like chemistry, and the higher the heating point of things, it's more reactive.
Yes.
Which is, it's going to be assimilated a lot more readily or do damage versus.
And that's kind of like what I was trying to touch base on, like you could die by fire, you could die by drowning. It's just like they're the same thing. You're still dying, but they're just like, this might seem
different
like
ways
it's
to do
healthier. It might look cooler. It might seem like you might smell better, but you're still damaging these lungs.
Yeah. You're damaging the DNA too.
Yeah.
So it's almost very long, possibly long-term change. And the kids, because they're not fully developed yet, their reaction is just it's really quick because they don't have the ability to try to filter out the impurities.
Do we have any questions or comments from anyone? Okay, great. What do we got?
Get this hack off the screen.
Yeah. We got, how are the underage kids getting vapes? Are enough adults and stores being held accountable?
Wow. That's a great question.
That is a great question.
Well, you know what? They should be held accountable. And as with anything else, look. Okay, here are drugs illegal?
I'm gonna
are
let
drugs
him go
illegal?
first. I'll jump right
is
on
alcohol illegal? Is alcohol legal for those under 21? Absolutely. People find a way.
Yeah.
People find a way. And I'll tell you what. There's other things. There's also parents that are not involved or too involved and permitting it, because there are kids I've heard of them having vaping parties in a parent's basement. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, remember when we were kids and the drinking age even was like 18 and then it jumped to 21? You get your older brother or sister to get you alcohol. They're going to find a way.
They find a way.
And, again, we go back to the parents. Listen, I have kids, man. There's parents out there that are their kids' friends.
Right.
You're not their friends. You're their parents. So it's like...
And of course, and now there's and everybody knows the place that you can go. Back in the day, oh, I know I can get my cigarettes there. I can get my alcohol there. I can get my now it's you're vaping. I can get my vapes there.
And there's more places you can get them.
Oh yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? Like you don't need a liquor license, and like it's not like alcohol where like you go to a liquor store. Like every gas station's got some kind of vapor in there.
They even have vape stores and everything. It's like,
and I'm sure they all have that one friend who could possibly pass. You know what I mean?
Got a couple strands of hair.
Come on. I mean, let's talk reality.
He stole his big brother's ID. He's walking in and he's supplying the whole crew. But the thing is that I'm going to roll it back even more before that step. This stuff should have never been okayed.
Yeah.
This should have never been okayed.
Well, that's with any product. Like it's kind of like we're behind the 8 ball. Like stuff comes out.
It's reactive.
Yeah, stuff comes out, and then it's like then we have to like react to it. It's not like there's nothing. The FDA. What does the FDA really approve anyway? Like you go to the vitamin shop. Like a lot of people can make stuff.
Yeah, well,
in the basement.
vitamins are not covered by the FDA.
Exactly. Like
So,
you know what I mean?
but
supplements.
but this
Yeah,
should be
supplements and stuff.
This should be, and
Yeah.
it's a drug. This is a drug. Food and Drug Administration. How did vaping even get on the market? This is where the lobbyists come into play. All the big money.
You don't want me to get started on that.
I'm going down because I don't care.
I know.
You know what? You know what? I've got a target on my back anyway. I got a big mouth. I've been involved in a couple of things. I'm sucking you right into this because you know what's happening? Because the pockets of all of the people in Congress are being lined by these lobbies.
Yeah, the tobacco lobby,
a little
jaded.
The prescription lobby. They're all being lined.
I'm a little jaded because I don't think it's ever going to change.
I don't think so either, but you know what?
I think you said the lobbyists. There's so much money floating around that someone's, they'll put money in your hand
And then you'll put money in their hand, and it's just this revolving thing. No matter how many. The joke when I was a kid was there was always that hot corner in the town.
Yeah.
And if you didn't watch around the corner or where you were driving through it, someone was going to get killed. So the joke was someone's going to have to get killed before they put a traffic light up there. It's not going to happen. I don't care how many. It's just sad, but I don't see.
To eliminate lobbyists.
Yeah, I don't see how. It doesn't matter how many kids die, get addicted, go on to as a gateway to bigger and more invasive things. It's not gonna. It's money.
So let's say, well, what can we do? Okay,
That's what I was just about
I'm gonna
to
tell you.
ask.
You know what we can do? We can do this, and this is a common theme that you'll see in all of our podcasts. The common theme is you. Yeah. You have to educate yourself.
Educate you and the person next to you.
Yep. You have to protect yourself. You have to look out for you.
Yeah. And the person next to you. I mean, because you got to educate the kids.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The kids at the end of the day.
That's like the Quan. You got to educate them on what the long-term game is because we talked about electronics before.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be another podcast.
Electronics, right?
We're going to do that too.
Cerebrally, it gets people that immediate gratification. We talked about millennials, immediate gratification. They don't, they want it now, or in 6 months they want to get a raise, or the blah blah blah. You have to also have, I go back to goals. You have to have short-term goals, but long-term goals too. And the idea is educate them, but know that there has to be a long-term gain. What's the long-term complications of this?
Right. I mean, same thing. If you look at guys who use steroids, for example, hey, I want to be able to lift X amount of weight and so forth.
Go down this road too.
Well, I'm saying it's a short-term game.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will achieve this goal. Yeah. But what are the repercussions of that? What's going to happen to me down the line? Am I going to be on TRT when I'm 38?
TRT.
Okay. Am I going to have
That's a legal version for steroids, by the way.
Am I going to have failure and issues?
You will, yeah.
Forward?
Like that was the thing. I mean, I started training at a young age when I was 11 or 12 years old, right? So I was in gyms, and when we were kids, people didn't go to gyms unless you were an athlete or you were an athlete.
Yeah.
So, but there was always that shady guy in the back of the gym that used to sell the performance enhancing drugs. And I'm not going to lie, I was approached when I was 12, 13 or whatever, but I knew that I wanted to have kids when I was older. I wanted to have a family. And the joke was, it'll
turn your grapes into raisins.
Yeah.
Well, just like we were talking before.
Hey, we're keeping it clean. Turn grapes into raisins.
But you shrivel up, and you're not going to be throwing blanks and stuff. And my point is, I didn't want to get that to go. I used to bodybuild, and I went to natural competitions and stuff, and I didn't want to do it. There was no testing and stuff then.
unless you went into natural shows. And my point is, I didn't want to go down that road because the joke was, oh, you got muscles, you must be on the sauce. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was tested.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a little bit older than you, and when I was in the gyms, they would sell them behind. It's probably a decade older. They'd be selling them behind the counter. You walk into the gym.
Yeah, I never saw that.
I saw that.
There would be a guy in the back.
Well, they were in the front. They moved to the back when they were a little younger than me. But they were in the front. They would sell it to you right there. Man, these guys were making tons of money, and everyone was getting huge. And I looked into it, and I said, nah, this isn't a good thing for me. So I stayed away from it. And I'll tell you, this is one of the reasons I got out of the whole not weight training, but competition. Yeah. I took first in one bodybuilding competition. I took third in another, and I was clean. And then that was my last one I ever did because I said, I can't compete with these guys because I refuse to put that stuff in my body.
Yeah, you can tell when someone's on the sauce.
Yeah.
You could just tell. It's just like when I used to race bikes and run. I used to
race duathlon. And you could tell when someone's on your EPO or any kind of performance enhancing drugs. Like even though at the local level you're not really tested, you can tell. Physiology is physiology. When you have the ability or lack thereof when you have the ability to do things repeatedly and it's just superhuman, it's like a quack like a duck, it's usually a duck. Right. So there's a long-term game to all this because just like with those sorts of things, the vaping, just to pull it full circle, it's karma. You may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but decades from now, it may show up. It's just like if you live with a smoker or you work with a smoker.
Right.
It's the same thing. There's a short-term game and there's a long-term game that it may show up, your physiology's not working right, and you just may have effects later on.
It's funny because it was a little disappointing to me too when I was doing powerlifting and Olympic lifting. I reached elite level of power lifter, by my weights, but for me to go to the next level, to compete, I'd have to juice, and so I got out of it.
Yeah.
And it was, and
I went to college.
This was actually after college.
Yeah.
I was lifting. The last time I ever competed in that I was 25 years old.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I did pretty well.
I was 18.
Yeah, but I got out of.
That was a joke around the lunchroom.
So it's again harkens back to what? What are you putting in your body? What are you willing to put in your body? If
it's not meant to be there, it's not going to work out well for you.
And I know you brought up chemicals before. Okay, so when we watch TV, how many prescription drug commercials are there? And the litany of what are the adverse side effects that they post. I'm like, it's worse than the disease you have.
Yeah.
Just live with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
True. So how many times have we've talked about this, man? Because I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
And it's also, I talk about it with my patients. If something's, I'm going to say busted for lack of a better word, but you know what I mean? If something's not, if you're hurt, you're injured, repetitive strain injury, all that fun stuff, or whether you're in pain or not, the first thing they tell you to do is take off. And I'm the cat. You don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. You want to work around the discomfort, the pain. Yes. So if it's your leg, if you really don't want to try to work through the pain with your legs, train your upper body.
Yep.
Just do something, because what you do is you enhance physiology, increase your metabolism, you'll speed up the healing response.
Yes.
As long as you keep things in check. It's just like this. If you look at the stats the other way, like if you get off the cigs, you get off the vapes, your liver, your lungs, it wants to be well. It will, as long as you're off of it and you start exercising, practice a healthy lifestyle, good diet, clean diet, your body will regenerate and heal itself. It'll turn the circle.
The thing is though, but with the popcorn lung though, is from what I've seen,
that's a different story.
Once that occurs, that's done, right?
Yeah,
that's done. You've damaged it.
It's necrotic, like lung tissue. It's dead tissue.
Yeah.
Can we go there for a second? So say you're watching right now and you vape and you want to get off. We've changed your life and you want to see the light What are some alternatives, or what can we do to get off of it? And they might be asking, I can't do it cold turkey. I need the nicotine.
What are the wrong cats? I rip off the Band-Aid. Just stop.
Exactly. I'm the same way. Like if you told me coffee's bad for you, I would stop drinking it today.
For the withdrawal. But that's the problem with the vapes. Just to cut you off, I apologize.
You're good.
Because there's substances that are addictive substances in there, you're going to dealing with the same withdrawal symptoms as your recreational and or medicinal drugs. So the problem is you got to just suck it up, Buttercup, and deal with it. If you need to speak to someone, go speak to someone or find a program that's going to deal with addiction, because it's an addiction.
Yeah, it's just like any other addiction. Look, you got to change people, places, and things.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone will tell you that. You got to change that circle. You got to be around people who are supportive of you not doing it. And I'll tell you, it's going to be tough. There's going to be a period of suck. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I call it the 90 days of suck. All right. So it's going to take you a good 3 months or 90 days to really get that habit out of your system to break that. Right.
So if anyone has gone, just to, again, another podcast, sugar, alcohol, any of those things, when you change your diet, since I threw sugar out there to throw a different twist on all this.
Another addictive.
Yeah.
substance.
So sugar is really addictive. And the problem is people will start a new diet plan, since we're in the whole resolution phase of the year, right? And they'll be good for that week. And then at the end of the week, because they've suffered the suck, the headaches, the withdrawal symptoms, the cravings, the this and that and the other that are associated with sugar addiction, the hypoglycemic, the glycemic wave, so to speak. After about 1 to 2 weeks, actually, Nicole, your daughter would have a better time frame. But there's a certain phase where your physiology will shift and your brain won't be addicted to the sugar. So the cravings will stop. The whole physiological complications of the glycemic wave, the lethargy, all of those things. If we're all drinking coffee, we talked about it. Caffeine's the same thing. The whole visceral somatic reflex from it. When your physiology shifts, you'll stop those cravings. And then you'll see that it's a cleaner way. You'll have more energy.
Well, you also
produce more.
You also want to look at why you're vaping, because you know what? Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to take some introspection here and say, "Gosh, why the heck am I vaping?" I mean, of course,
it's the mind.
you're going to need some professional help on this. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to go back to smoking. That's a bad thing.
Or a supportive group.
And
like
the support
you need a
group.
supportive circle.
You need a support circle.
What's the meme that is, if your circle's telling you you're not good enough, find a new circle. Right. Right? Whatever. That's the idea. I go back to exercise.
Or you want to feel thin? Hang out with fat people.
Yeah. I go back to exercise because it's just like, what am I? Cholesterol. So 80% of the cholesterol is built by made by you. So you could alter your diet all you want, but the second you exercise, it'll speed it up. So I just say exercise because it'll normalize your physiology, optimize it. It'll clear out the bad stuff, get the good stuff in.
Get some endorphins.
Yes, that's the thing. There's
turnover.
That whole thing.
There's so many important, necessary things that you gain from exercise and proper nutrition that I can't.
And I say you don't have to be like us.
No,
you could do calisthenics. You could walk, run, bike. Just move, because what happens is if you raise your metabolism, you're going to raise the cell turnover and the physiology. Which reminds me, some other thing I have in this chicken scratch in this that I wrote down yesterday when I researched this stuff. Like smoking, vaping. It damages your epithelial cells, which is the cells lining the insides of your bronchioles, your oropharynx, your basically your throat, your mouth, and your inside.
Is that from both the heat and the chemicals?
100%.
Okay.
That will turn over and regenerate itself. So you'll get that good quality inner lining,
which boosts the immune system. It boosts just physiology. It just makes you
So
better.
So basically, do we have any other questions?
You guys got about 30 seconds left. If you want to be a caller, put it in the comment section or put a question in now because we're getting toward the end. So
Because we're summing this up because I'll tell you, basically this boils down to, if you're not vaping, don't start.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a viable alternative. If you are vaping, stop.
If
Find
your
a way.
kids are vaping,
Get involved and be a parent. Get them off. Like, listen to them
to understand why they're vaping, how to get them, like, be a parent. Listen to them to understand them. Don't listen to them to be their friend.
I'm a little personal.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
I'm intense, man.
That's it. That's it. You're too intense.
Heard that before.
And put exercise in your life.
Yes.
So that's just what I was about to ask
Copy
you.
that.
I hope you weren't ending right there. I was just about to ask you last thing. So basically we're saying, so I've been blessed and lucky enough that I don't have addictive personality. You tell me water's bad for me, I'll cut it out tomorrow. But if you are, you know, working out is the quickest and easiest way to remove those addictive personality traits.
Well, you get addicted to. We'll replace the addictive with a positive.
A healthy addiction.
A healthy addiction was a positive way to get that you know, if you have to quench yourself with something, you have to become addicted to something.
Instead of drinking
do something.
alcohol, drink water.
Right. You know,
Well,
do push-ups.
I'd rather be addicted to exercise than water. But I'm just saying, like, if you speak to anyone that knows me my entire life, if Dworkin doesn't exercise, he's a different person.
Yep.
It's just exercise balances brain chemistry. It balances and enhances physiology. It increases endorphins in a very healthy way. Right. That adrenaline dump that we talked about, it eases it into the system versus dumping it.
Yes.
And it also enhances your response to stress.
So it's a win-win. There's nothing. It's a win-win.
Helps empty
Exercise.
that stress bucket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right, guys. Great podcast today. Thank you for our special guest,
Thank
Dr.
you for having
Dworkin.
me.
We'll definitely have you on again. Dougie Fresh, thank you. Boys, Corey, JC, thanks for your work. And thank you for watching. And remember, this is Master Phil in your corner. Strength and honor.